Welcome back. Yep, yep. I'm wearing a Sens jersey. We're gonna preview the Ottawa Toronto series, which I think is going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, historically, you look back to 20 plus years ago when these teams played against each other. Toronto won those series, and Toronto sometimes won those series pretty easily. And it felt like the Leafs got in the heads of the Ottawa Senators, and it was psychological as much as anything else. At the time, Ottawa was one of the top teams in the league, and Toronto just knew a way to get through them psychologically as much as anything else. Now here we are about 20 years later, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are always a top team, and it just feels again like psychologically there's that block. Now, the Ottawa Senators did well against Toronto during the regular season for what that means, which is nothing. And it does. It really does. I am sure we'll get played up a lot when we start this series on Sunday, but it really does not matter. Now, when we look at the records of these teams, the Ottawa Senators 45-30-7 on the season, Toronto 52-26-4. Both of them had very good regular seasons. And since Four Nations, both of these teams have played well. 16-7-3 record for Ottawa, 673 points percentage. For Toronto, a 19-6-2 record for a 741 points percentage. And yet, when I had them as high as I had them on the power rankings last Saturday, people were like, they're way too high because people aren't following. People assume that, well, it's Toronto, and there's this negativity that's attached. It might be part of the reason why I'm wearing a Sens jersey. So November 12th, Ottawa won this matchup 3-0. January 25th, Ottawa won this matchup 2-1. And then Ottawa won on March 15th, 4-2. So Ottawa did not taste defeat at the hands of the Toronto Maple Leafs, which doesn't mean anything once the series gets started, but it's still kind of fun to discuss. Now, the leading scorer for the Ottawa Senators, Tim Stützle, 82 games, 24 goals, 55 assists, 79 points. It points out something important about this series. The Ottawa Senators have a number of players who can score. They have that depth. Toronto, that's always been a question about that scoring depth. Maybe they answer it in the positive this year. But with Ottawa, it means you're not just trying to shut down one or two guys. It's a little more difficult. Batherson, 82 games, 26 goals, 42 assists, 68 points. I should also mention with Stützle, since Four Nations, 26 games, 7 goals, 16 assists, 23 points. For Batherson, 26 games since Four Nations, 10 goals, 13 assists, 23 points. Sanderson's really committed to his own on the blue line. He's played fantastic recently. So overall, 80 games, 11 goals, 46 assists, 57 points. But since Four Nations, 25 games, 6 goals, 16 assists for 22 points. The numbers are fantastic. Brady Tkachuk, honestly, his offensive numbers have underwhelmed me a little bit. That I know he's capable of more. 72 games, 29 goals, 26 assists, 55 points. Since Four Nations, 16 games, 8 goals, 3 assists, 11 points. So, Tkachuk, I think offensively is probably capable of a little bit more, but I will say that as a captain and as a leader, I think he took that next step this year. There were a lot fewer games this year than last year where his temperament seemed to be a distraction or kind of throw things off for them. Now in net, I've got two goaltenders for Toronto when we get over to the Toronto side, but there's only one on the Ottawa side because they go to Forsberg, I think that means things didn't work. They brought in Ullmark for this. Ullmark, 25-14-3 record, 910 save percentage. And since Four Nations, he has played a ton. 13-5-1 record, 902 save percentage. Save percentage has come down a little bit. However, the 13-5-1 record is good. And Ullmark's play overall has been solid. It is a big part of the reason Ottawa's here. Now we'll go over to the Toronto side, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss team stats and do a comparison there. So Mitch Marner, the leading scorer for Toronto, 81 games, 27 goals, 75 assists, 102 points. Whether he stays in Toronto this summer or he leaves as a UFA, he's going to get paid. Since Four Nations, 27 games, 11 goals, 20 assists, 31 points. Marner's capable of highlight reel goals. He is also one of the best pure passers in the game. A lot of fun to watch. William Nylander, 82 games, 45 goals, 39 assists, 84 points. Since Four Nations, 27 games, 12 goals, 17 assists, 29 points. Austin Matthews, 67 games, 33 goals, 45 assists, 78 points. And yet, we look at that and we think, that's a bit of a down year for him, isn't it? Right, 33 goals in 67 games is a bit of a down year. Since Four Nations, 27 games, 13 goals, 20 assists, 33 points. So he's been productive. Toronto's been playing really, really well. They're rolling into the playoffs. I take a great risk wearing this, more than people think. Tavares is playing like... and I stopped myself. I don't know if he's playing like he knows that this could be his last year in Toronto, and it's possible that he goes as a UFA. But he is definitely playing like he has something really driving him right now, playing some of the best hockey in his career. So overall, his numbers, 75 games, 38 goals, 36 assists, 74 points. Since Four Nations, 27 games, 17 goals, 12 assists, 29 points. So above a point per game, and more goals than any of the other forwards on the board. So Tavares has lived up to that contract throughout. But then you get to the goaltending, and the question is there. Stolarz, to me, is the game one starter. But I don't think they'll hesitate to go to Woll, because they've won with him. Woll, 27-14-1 record, 909 save percentage. Since Four Nations, 8-3-1 record, 908 save percentage. But you can't ignore Stolarz' numbers, which are a little better. 21-8-3 record, 926 save percentage for Stolarz. And since Four Nations, 11-3-1 record, 922 save percentage. It's been fun watching Anthony Stolarz come into his own this year. And I'm glad he did, because when Toronto signed him, I said, that's a huge steal. And yeah, because if you have a channel like this and you get that wrong, it's everywhere. So looking at the team stats, scoring-wise, it's not a surprise that it favors Toronto. 3.26 goals scored per game versus 2.95 goals scored per game by Ottawa. It may surprise some that Toronto's defensive numbers are better as well. Toronto's defense gets a lot of flack, but it's not really all that accurate. 2.79 goals against per game for Toronto, 2.83 goals against per game for Ottawa, which, yeah, that would have been affected by last night's game in the negative, right? And then you get into the power play numbers. Close, 24.8% for Toronto, 23.8% for Ottawa. The penalty killing's close too, 77.9% for Toronto, 77.7% for Ottawa. Now, if these teams are leading after the first, they're pretty good at holding the lead, as most of these teams above the playoff line are. That's how you end up above the playoff line. Leading after the first, Toronto's 26-3, Ottawa 23-5. If they're leading after the second, yeah, it's a lot. 35-1-1 record for Toronto, 33-2-1 record for the Ottawa Senators. Hits per 60 minutes favor Ottawa, 25.5 versus 23.73 for Toronto. Block shots favors Toronto, 16.41 blocks per game, whereas blocks per 60 for Ottawa, 15.38. So they're close. They're not that totally different from one another in those numbers, and it will be interesting to see who dictates the play through those first couple of games. Now, looking at recent playoff history, so I just did the Carolina-New Jersey one, where New Jersey had hardly any history over that time. Ottawa has none. So recent playoff history, Ottawa's clean. And I do think that's something that favors Ottawa a little bit. They don't have the baggage that Toronto's going to have coming into this. So 2019 is as far back as I go with the recent history. The Leafs lost against Boston in the first round. 2020, the Leafs lose in the qualifying round against Columbus. 2021, the Leafs lose in the first round against Montreal. 2022, the Leafs lose in the first round against Tampa. 2023, the Leafs lose in the second round against Florida after beating Tampa in the first round. And in 2024, the Leafs lost against Boston in the first round. So Boston being out, that's good news for them. Columbus, of course, they don't have to worry about Columbus. Montreal, they wouldn't have to worry about until the second round. No, not until the conference final with Montreal, right? Because they're playing Washington and then, yeah. And then, yeah, Tampa Bay and Florida, whoever wins that series, they would face in the second round. I think this series is going to be close. And I think the first two games in Toronto are going to be huge. So 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific Sunday is the first game in that series in Toronto. And then Tuesday it's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. And then the series shifts to Ottawa. Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific. Saturday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. That game 4. Already excited about all these games. It's going to be great. Then if needed, on April 29th, which is a Tuesday, the fifth game's in Toronto. Thursday, May 1st. The sixth game would be in Ottawa. And Game 7, if needed, would be Saturday, May the 3rd in Toronto. And going to a Game 7, it feels like that's what series involving the Toronto Maple Leafs do. That they very often end up in a seventh game scenario. And they've had their struggles in seventh game scenarios. Now, for Toronto, the best plan would be to win it in 6. Win it or win it in 4, honestly, if you're a Toronto fan, right? But if they were able to win it in 6, they'd be in Ottawa. They wouldn't have the same amount of pressure. One of the things I'm curious about, too, is it's going to be interesting to see when we get to Ottawa, how many Leafs fans are going to be in that Ottawa crowd. And would that favor the Leafs or would that fire up Ottawa? Because it can do a little bit of both. And it could lead to some really intense hockey in Ottawa. So I am really looking forward to this. The Battle of Ontario could very well be the best series in the first round. That being said, every series I think you could make that argument for. There's not a single series I'm looking at right now and saying, nobody's going to care about that series. And there have been times in the past where I've looked and gone, man, nobody's going to care about that series. And then the viewership numbers tell me, people don't care as much. And that's not necessarily decided by the quality of the teams. It's just the interest level sometimes isn't there. The interest level is going to be there in this series. It should be a lot of fun. And I felt like I kind of had to wear Ottawa. I've been wearing all the home teams, and so I'm going to wear Ottawa. I'm not sure if I'm going to wear road team jerseys for any of the other series. Probably. I'm probably going to go out on a limb at least a little bit. But, yeah, I do like Ottawa's team. I do like the story that they've written. I've told this before, but my mom's favorite team's the Ottawa Senators. I've had a soft spot for the Ottawa Senators since they played their first game, and they won it. I believe that was against Montreal at home, and Alanis Morissette sang the anthem before people knew who she was. So, well, at least to the extent that everybody knows who Alanis Morissette is now. So if Ottawa was smart, I say for Game 3, they bring her in to sing the anthem. That'd be kind of fun. Or Toronto control them by bringing her in, if she's willing to do that for Game 1. But either way, anthem singing is where we're going to discuss this now. But either way, this is going to be, I think, a fantastic series. Both of these teams are playing well. Both of them look confident. And whoever wins this series, I'm going to be rooting for the rest of the way in the East because Boston's out, right? And teams that I might have rooted for ahead of these two are generally out. So it should be a fun one. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, including who you believe will win, that kind of fun stuff. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I am nerdily excited about this upcoming playoffs. Absolutely. So, yeah, thanks for your support. I will talk to you again soon.